I'm Terry Brock with TerryBrock.com, reporting for business journals. Business requires attention. It requires focus, and there's too many interruptions. One of the biggest and most annoying is when those infernal phone calls coming in are from people trying to get your attention and sell you something when you're not in the mood for that. You're working on something else. It would be nice to have a tool that blocks those kind of calls and gives you the option to say what you can do or not. Well, Privacy Star is a company that has a tool like that for Android phones that works very well. I had a chance to talk with Jonathan Sassy. He's their Chief Marketing Officer, and he talks about a way that you can use this to boost your productivity at work and to make sure that you control who's calling you. This is one that you want to listen to if you've ever had a problem with that. Join me now as I talk with Jonathan Sassy, the Chief Marketing Officer for Privacy Star.
You know, getting those annoying phone calls really can disrupt your business patterns and getting work done in business. Sometimes we get people calling us and they're trying to sell stuff. We all understand the importance of being able to sell, but we also should be allowed to know who's calling, why they're calling. And now there's a company that has developed a technology that's giving you the ability to find out what's going on. The name of the product is called Privacy Star, and we've got Jonathan Sassy, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for the company First Orion. He's joining us now from the offices out there in San Diego. Jonathan, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, Terry, thank you.
And I'm really interested in the program that you have. You've got something that helps people in business. Tell us a little bit about Privacy Star and what it is and how people are using that in business.
Sure. One of the things that really prompted us is, as more and more people were moving to their cell phone, not only as their, main business tool, but also moving away from landlines and having that be their main phone number, really. And so what we saw is that, you don't have that same luxury of great caller ID on your cell phone. It's difficult to stop people from calling you once they start. So we started looking at the solution of really trying to say, can we help people know who's calling and why and help them stop unwanted calls when they start? And that really was the impetus for this, is just giving you more control over your cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Now, how does that differ from some of the caller ID that we get? I see, okay, there's a call on there, et cetera. What does Privacy Star offer me over and above that?
Well, there's a couple things. So one thing that we're all used to is on our landlines at home. We got caller ID for a very long time. But that's actually something that's not standard on cell phones, and it's not something that everybody really knows. We get calls from our contacts a lot, so we're used to seeing the name of the people who calls us because we've put it in there. But very frequently when someone calls from a number that you don't know or that's not in your contacts, you don't get much more information than just the number or maybe the location, depending on the service you have. Some carriers do provide some service that will add a name to those phone numbers. But one of the things that we do that's different on a real-time caller ID in particular is we try and help you know why that person is calling. So we add a certain type of call to that. So if it's someone who's a telemarketer, maybe someone who's a debt collector, maybe it's a scammer or fraudster that's trying to actually rip you off, we add information to that because sometimes just the name is not enough. If you were to get a phone call from somebody that says it's ABC Incorporated, you'd have no idea what their purpose was or what their intention was. But if we say this is a reported telemarketer, or even we add some threat level indications for that as well. So we say this is somebody who's been known to abuse people or been known to harass people. It gives you a lot more information before you actually decide, am I going to answer this phone or not?
Jonathan, I think that's really important. Matter of fact, those of you that are watching this, I want you to think about this. This is more than just, it's another caller ID, it's helmet. This has some real serious business applications as I think about it. Matter of fact, Jonathan, I'd like to share with you my ideas and then get your feedback on this because I see this as very important. My own example, I'm an entrepreneur like many of you watching. I'm out there. We're always interested in people that want to do business with us. And so, hey, somebody's calling and they want to give me money. They want me to do some work for them. Hey, I want to talk with them. But I also am busy and I don't want to be interrupted with someone just trying to sell me aluminum siding or some other thing, whatever it might be. And so there have been times in my life when I picked up the phone, I saw it come through. I didn't know who it was. I get one of those. It's just a phone number on there. And I go, I don't know who that is. If I had your service, Jonathan, it'd be a little bit better. But it's just on there. I don't know who it is. And I pick it up and I'm thinking, okay, I'll just get rid of them. Yeah. What do you want? And it's somebody that wanted to hire me. Suddenly I realized, if I hadn't answered that or if I had been rude to them, that would have been bad. Other times I pick up the phone and somebody's there there's a thing with Microsoft Windows. We're calling for your Windows support. And some people, and they say they're calling from some city in the US. Like I remember they said they were calling from Chicago. And I could tell they didn't sound like they were from Chicago, because I could tell by the sounds in the background. It wasn't a clear, crisp call. Plus, they didn't have a Native American accent. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe that adds to it. And so I said, really, from Chicago? What's your area code in Chicago? I just happen to know that. And they go, oh, I don't. Well, I go, no, you would know what your area code is if you lived in Chicago. By the way, and I actually asked this question, Jonathan. I said, what's the name of that lake that's really big right above Chicago? Now, of course, that's a Lake Michigan. They didn't know. And I'm going, aha. So you're lying to me about that. Well, it was one of those calls. And it would have been nice to know. So my whole point on that is, Jonathan, your service is really important. And for those of you watching this in business, it's breaking your train of thought. We know psychologically that when you snap away from concentration, you think, oh, I'll get back there. No, the brain takes a while to get back in beat. And you're missing out on something very important. For you, knowing who is calling, I think is very important. Jonathan, I'd love your reaction on that. I'm sure you've probably thought about those things around conference tables with others there at First Orion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's especially for the business traveler, right? For example, and another real world example that I can share with you too is I was out at the Consumer Electronics Show last week in Las Vegas, and it's mayhem out there. You got a zillion appointments, you got things you're trying to catch up with people you haven't met with before. Your phone's ringing all the time, and you can't risk missing a phone call that's going to be very important. But at the same time, you don't want to get blindsided by somebody trying to sell you a cruise or something else that you're not in the mood for. So there's all kinds of practices for this, where being able to know who's calling, be able to know that that's the call I'm expecting, or that's a call that I'm looking for, or I don't want to take that call right now, or this is somebody I never want to talk to again. That's all things that we value as not only as business people, but as consumers, especially around our mobile phones, is being able to have the power to manage that kind of communication and not have it always be a guessing game when my phone rings.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is you're offering a service that really gives you the ability to get control of your life.
Absolutely.
Know where you're going to invest the most precious resource you have, and that's time. That I really want to talk to those people that are interested in me and want to hire me. Hey, absolutely, I want to talk with them. And there might be times that someone is trying to sell me something that I would want to answer. I would want to talk with them, because sometimes they offer valuable products that I could use, or I'm going to learn just by talking with them. Okay, I want to have that choice. You give me the choice. You're putting the information on the screen of this is what it is, and I can go, hey, this guy's a spammer. I want to pick up the phone and just talk to him. I want to find out how those spammers work. There might be times I want to do that. There are other times I'd say, I don't have time for it. And I like the fact you give us choice.
Sure, and that's really the most important thing is when your phone rings, you need to be able to make a decision within a couple of seconds. Am I going to answer this, and who am I going to be talking to when I pick up the phone? And we give you that capability to do that.
Yeah, very, very important. Now, I think there's another thing. I saw on your website that you have this for Android. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's going to be available for folks like me with my iPhone and iOS. But before we were recording this, you were talking to me saying, well, that's on that not yet category. Tell us a little bit about the situation on that. Who is for and who can't use it yet?
Yep. Right now, our service is for people with Android smartphones. We would love to build a similar product for iPhone. Unfortunately, at this point, Apple hasn't released the same types of technology that Google provides to us to be able to detect incoming calls, to be able to help you manage your contacts, to be able to stop unwanted calls. Those are things that Apple hasn't exposed yet. As soon as they do, we will absolutely release an application for the iPhone.
Okay. Well, I know, Jonathan, you're there in San Diego. I want you to get out, and when we're finished here, run up the road there to Apple's headquarters. It's a little, just about that far on the map for me. I got a small map. Okay, a little small map. Just run up there and knock on the door and tell Tim Cook they need to do that, okay?
Absolutely. I'll get right on that.
Yeah, get right on that. But hey, you've got a great service. And now, any other business advantages you see other than what we've talked about so far?
Well, there's a number of things. I mean, I think that, not only in the transparency on the phone call process, but, there's what we're also looking to do is to try and help both educate consumers and businesses. As you mentioned earlier, sometimes a business will call you that you want to talk to. There's businesses selling legitimate things that are that you might find valuable. And we want to help encourage companies that are making those phone calls to also be more transparent in their processes, right? Is make sure that they're being clear about who they're calling, what they're calling from, what their business name is, that they're responding to consumer complaints if they find out that maybe they hired some call center that's treating people inappropriately. It's a big initiative for us, and we enable consumers to file complaints against companies that are abusing them or harassing them or not following the regulations about how they're supposed to manage telemarketing calls. We provide all that information to the Federal Trade Commission, so companies are able to see what their practices are doing, what's going on in the marketplace, and ideally, what we find is just a more appropriate marketplace. companies that behave better, that are more transparent about what they're calling about, and that aren't harassing people when they do get them on the phone. Because ultimately, of course, what we want is we want people to be able to get a phone call that they want to get. They want to be able to conduct business in the way they want to conduct business, and that companies that are trying to sell things are being appropriate in the way that they're doing it.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to what we were talking about before. It's choice. You're giving us a choice what to do, and it might be, let me make sure we can do this. If I see a call coming through and I say, I don't know who that is. They might be good, they might not, but I'm busy with something. Can I just make sure that it goes to a voicemail with the idea that, hey, if it's really important, they'll leave voicemail?
Absolutely. So you have the ability to send a voicemail. You have the ability to completely block a call. So obviously, you can answer the phone, and then if it's somebody that you realize that's somebody you don't ever want to talk to again, or I think most of us have had the experience where you get somebody calling you 3 or 4 times in a day, and you didn't answer it, and they didn't leave a voicemail, and you're wondering, like, who is this person that keeps calling me? Not only do we give the ability for you to see who that is, but if it's somebody that you definitely don't want to talk to, you can add that person to your block list, and the next time they try and call, it just gets disconnected where they can't even leave you voicemail even if they wanted to. And
yeah, makes sense. All right. Well, someone says, hey, I like this idea. This Privacy Star sounds like a good deal. How can they find out more information about this, Jonathan?
Well, you can go to privacystar.com. You can also go, if you have an Android smartphone, you can go into the Google Play Store, search for Privacy Star, and our application is there, and it's a free download.
All right, very good. Well, you folks, the whole thing is about choice, and it's about you managing your time and having the calls coming in that you want, and those you don't want coming in, you have a way to set up certain procedures so that you're not bothered. It's a good little tool. I recommend looking into it. If you're on the Android side, and if you're on the iOS side like me, well, just stay tuned. We might have something later, and going back to the site every so often would be a good thing to do that. Jonathan, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Terry. I appreciate it.
And for those of you watching, I'm Terry Brock with terrybrock.com and for Business Journals. I'll look forward to seeing you on our next video.